Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Friday Fables podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jags, and joining me as always is Kira.
Hi, everybody.
And as usual, we'll start off our episode by talking about games that we've been playing recently. I'll go first. So, the first game that I've been playing a lot is Wolong Fallen Dynasty on the PlayStation 5. I am almost finished with the game, I believe. Um, just kind of, I think last episode I mentioned getting together the fire martial arts build based on the Lubu set. I haven't really made a ton of progress with that set yet. I've just kind of been, again, just progressing through this story. I think I'm on the final couple of missions before being done, and then I'm going to be preparing for New Game Plus and the DLCs, is my plan. I think I may just, like, to start off with, go back to my Water Virtue build for New Game Plus and stuff, just because I think it's a lot less risky to play. Because the martial arts build, while it does a lot more damage than my Water Virtue build, the Water Virtue build has lots of like healing and very based around just deflecting, and it rewards you a lot for it the way my set is set up. And I may actually change it to something else because I'm using the Liu Bei set from just getting, I think, both rank 10 with Liu Bei. It's kind of a starter Water Virtue set, so I'll see what else is around before kind of pushing on to New Game Plus. Um, Maybe I'll look online and see if there's a set that I can farm with dual swords as the weapon, because I really like dual swords. Um, Most recently, actually, I did a mission which I thought was really cool, so maybe minor spoilers, but for anyone who's played Neo 2, there is actually a Neo 2 crossover mission with in Wolong, and I did that mission and it was awesome. So anyone who's played Neo 2 and you're coming into this game, when you get to around I think the final chapter, I actually can't remember what that was now. It's either chapter 5 or chapter 6. It's the final chapter. As soon as you get into that chapter, you'll unlock the quest to go and do the Neo 2 crossover. It's a little bit challenging. It's a level 100 quest, whereas everything else at that point in the game will be sort of, I think, 70s, maybe 60s, high 60s, that kind of thing. So it is a bit higher than those. So don't feel like you need to just go rush in straight away into it. Um, but I wanted to just because I'm a huge fan of Neo 2, and it was a really good mission. I enjoyed it, and as a reward, you get a Scampus hat, which I love because I love the Scampuses from Neo 2. They're the little rolling fat cats that you can pet and stuff like that. So you get them, you get one to sit on your head if you'd like. Which, why wouldn't you like?
Cute little roly-poly cats.
Yep, the cute little roly poly cats from Neo 2. So that's the first thing. I've been putting a lot of time into Wolong. I've also been playing more War Within, World of Warcraft, the War Within. Just doing kind of bits and bobs here and there, just um, leveling. Got to 80 on my second character, which was a little bit of an ordeal, as we mentioned last time, with experience being what it is. Took a bit longer than expected, but it's kind of interesting because it's almost like you have to, not completely, but you have to kind of clean out each zone of quests in order to get to 80 now. You cannot just follow the campaign. You have to do side stuff, delves, dungeons, tons of side quests, world quests as well at the same time. Basically, anything that's up, go ahead and do them because you're going to need all the experience that you get. Getting to 80 on that is the main thing that I've been doing. Um, and then I also did the Mage Tower for my. I mentioned last time that I'd started playing Marksmanship Hunter, which I really enjoyed, so I went ahead and did that, which went okay. Very buggy encounter, I must say, but whatever. It's all good. That's mainly it for me, though. That's all I've been kind of playing in the last week. I'll pass over to Kira. What have you been up to?
Yeah. I mostly have been living in War Within. I think I have 5 80s now, and I'm working on a 6th as a warrior. She's only 73 or 74. And I also have unlocked the Earthen. So I'm working on leveling an Earthen right now, which I think is hilarious because Earthen, I don't know how many people have unlocked the Earthen, but they have a racial that gives you like 200% increase to exploration experience, which is just wild to me. I find this crazy. So you can just like fly around the map and explore, and you get a ton of experience. And I think I just started her a little while ago, and she's already like 26 or something. So it flew. Like, yeah, leveling at low levels goes really fast anyway, but like this was crazy. It
No pun
just
intended.
it flew.
Blue.
Yeah, yeah, flew with dragon riding, flying around all the zones. But yeah, it was very chill experience, and it kind of it lets you see the zones again. If you haven't quested through there in a while, you can kind of just fly around. It's very chill. You can, talk, watch stuff. You can do stuff while you do it. It was pretty chill. I didn't think I would like the Earthen very much because I'm not a big dwarf fan. I don't like the standard ones. I don't like the dark iron ones. I didn't think I would like these. But once I created her and actually like logged in on her and saw like what her movement was, the way she looked, the voice of the character, her voice lines are pretty good. Um I like her a lot more than I expected to. I can't say that I'll like play her a whole ton kind of thing because I
Yeah.
right now she's a paladin and I have a level 80 human paladin and I have a level 80 Draenei paladin. So this would be a third level 8 paladin. But I don't know what's wrong with me. That's not even my favorite class. But hey, whatever. Um, she may become my new main paladin. You never know. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it. It's been just neat. Um, but yeah, so I've been living in War Within. And I had mentioned that I was needing to start a new series for my Let's Play. So I've started Cosmic Star Heroine, and I absolutely love it so far. I'm not too far in. But it's been really good. I love the art style, the dialogue's good, the characters are good. I like the main character a lot. She's very like I had mentioned, she reminds me of Alice from Fantasy Star 4. So if you like Alice from that, you might like this character too. I think her name's Alyssa. She kind of has that, I don't know, strong female protagonist. She can take care of herself, kind of I'll get things done attitude. And she's pretty neat. It was a pretty good introduction to the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes, where we head with this story. And I've been trying to get a list together. I'm trying to round up. In October, I try and do something special because I love October so much. Um, I try and do something special where I play spooky, I don't know, not scary. They just kind of have a certain vibe to them that you can go, yeah, I can see why you're playing that, around Halloween. Because I don't do horror games. I'm not a big scary fan. Nah. But I'm a big chicken. I'm a big chicken when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I'm trying to get a few surprises ready for October so that I'll have stuff ready to go once I start doing that. So I won't be going, I wonder what games I'll play. So I'm trying to get some stuff ready for that already. And yeah, so that's been me. Like I said, mostly War Within for now. But yeah.
Awesome. You actually reminded me of a game that we played this week on our co-op game night. We played what was it called? Platform 8?
Platform 8. Yeah.
Platform 8. We played that game. Kira reminded me of it because she was mentioning the October games, scary games.
Mhm.
This was actually a horror game, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think
I would
either of
definitely
us were a
say.
fan of it, to be honest. It was a bit like, okay, so I think the big thing, so my thoughts on it, first of all, were just like, I didn't understand what kind of game it was because the developers of this game also made, was it the Exit 8? which Kira you've
Exit
played.
8.
Do you want to tell
Yeah.
people a little bit about what kind of game that is?
Exit 8, I absolutely loved. I was still a big wuss in it because it still had a vibe to it that freaked me out a little bit. But Exit 8 is you're like in this, I think you're coming from like an underground, either walkway or maybe you're coming from an underground subway somewhere, but you're not on the subway. You're in like this corridor. And as you go down this corridor, you're supposed to spot these anomalies. And once you spot them, you're supposed to turn back around and go back the way that you came. And you're saying, I found the anomaly, and you go back. And the whole point is you're supposed to do this until you get to level 8. And once you clear level 8, you get to leave. But until then, you either go straight on if there's no anomalies, you just pass through that corridor, or if there's something weird that you notice, you turn around and go back. And then you still progress, but it's you have to spot the anomalies and turn around and try not to die to the anomalies because some of the anomalies will kill you. But it was a really good one if you like that type of game. I enjoyed that one a lot. I liked that one.
Yeah. So the Exit 8 was a really cool game because it was kind of what's the genre called, like observation game, I think,
Mm-hmm.
where you're kind of
Yeah.
looking for the anomalies. And I think there have been several games either before or since then that have kind of done the same style.
Mm-hmm.
So the Platform 8 is one would assume the same kind of game, especially the way it looks. But first of all, there wasn't really any information about like how to play this game and what you're supposed to do. Because even on the store page, I was trying to look for information about like what my goal is. There was just nothing. this they tell you like a very brief overview of what the game is from like a flavor perspective, like what the scenario is that you're on this train and you're trying to make it to your destination. Cool, that's about it. Um,
And there will be anomalies. I think it does say
yeah,
there
it
will be
does tell you.
anomalies.
Yeah, it says beware of the anomalies on there. So I was like, okay, this is probably
Yeah.
another observation game. It
Yeah.
isn't, by the way, at all. But it looks like one because it looks just like the Exit 8, where you have these posters on the wall and stuff like electronic signs everywhere. The same dude from that game
Mm-hmm.
makes a welcome or unwelcome appearance or return in this game. So quite a while was spent just like figuring out what the heck I was supposed to even do in this game. And then essentially the gist of it is you have to just keep moving. And whenever you encounter an anomaly, there'll be like there may or may not be instructions on how you're supposed to deal with it. Sometimes it could be obvious as like just don't touch, like without spoiling too much, like the anomaly, whatever it may be. Don't touch it, just kind of walk past it. Sometimes you're not supposed to look at it, so you have to kind of walk backwards, facing away from it at all times, otherwise you'll die. And you just have to keep moving forward to the next carriage. So once I figured that out, um, I think we both figured that out. It was a bit, it was okay, you know. It was a game,
Yeah.
a lot shorter than the Exit 8 because of it, because there really isn't any like turning around and going back. And once you figure out what the game in the game you're supposed to do, it's pretty much just a straight shot to the end, as long as you can deal with
Mm-hmm.
the anomalies, which are not too terribly difficult to deal with. But it's just a bit. I don't think it was as good as the Exit 8. They didn't
Yeah.
really give you a lot of clear instructions. It's a big thing, and the game was extremely short. Like they did say it's like I think 15 minutes to an hour maybe or something like that, or maybe 20 minutes. But we
Yeah.
finished it in about 30 minutes, I would say,
Yeah.
with a few deaths at the beginning where we were trying to figure out whether we were supposed to keep going forwards or whether we have to go back. You know, like in the
Yeah.
Exit 8 and go back trying to go, but the doors don't open. So, um, but yeah,
Platform 8 was more of like a survive the anomalies, and
yes,
Exit 8 was more of a spot the anomalies and
yes,
then turn back around if there is one. So you're much more aware of each little thing in Exit 8 because like the eyes on the poster could be different. And it's like, "Oh no." But and then you have to turn around, otherwise it resets you. But if the eyes are different in Platform 8, it doesn't matter. Those don't hurt you, so you just keep walking. So you just survive the anomalies, and I didn't really like platform 8 as much, but that also it freaked me out, and it's been a while since I've been that freaked out by a game. But it's more because it does force you to face the anomalies if they're there. Like if it is like a person, you have to like walk up to the anomaly and get past them. Whereas on exit A, if you walked around that corner and there's a person there that wasn't there before, well, you just turn back around and go, never mind, nope, 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 and you can nope your way out. But in platforming, you gotta walk right up to him, and it's like, oh no, and it did it. It freaked me out for some reason, really bad. But I didn't really enjoy platform 8 very much. I liked exit 8 a lot better.
Yeah.
Um, I thought it was more fun to try and figure out because even if you messed up a level on on exit 8, if you messed up, it would reset your level and you have to start over. But then you get to sit there and go, but what was it?
Yeah.
So then you pay more attention, and it was more of like a puzzle type game. Whereas this one, it didn't feel as much like a puzzle.
Nah, it
It
wasn't
was
really.
just a get around them, get away from them, run kind of feeling. And yeah, that if you like those types, Exit 8 definitely. But yeah, not as big a fan of Platform 8
Yeah, and I
myself.
think because especially since it's set on like an actual train,
Mhm.
there's not really a whole lot of creativity that can go into how kind of get past the anomalies.
Yeah.
Because as Kira mentioned, pretty much the majority of the time, all it is you just have to avoid them, like walk around them or something like that. And there are some instances where it was very well done. Like, I don't know if anyone remembers, like the game Hot Chocolate, I think it's called, when you're a kid, where someone would be, you don't have to stand back from the person who would be facing away from you, and they'd cover their eyes and they'll turn around, and you have to stop moving. And your goal is to get to them, uh,
Mm.
whoever gets to the person first, right? They did
Red light,
incorporate
green light.
that. Red light, green light, yeah. I think we used to call it hot
Hmm.
chocolate here in the UK. But yeah, so games like that, they kind of did create an anomaly that was themed around that, which I thought was really well done. Where you had to kind of slowly take your steps towards the anomaly while it wasn't looking, quote unquote. So stuff like that was pretty cool, but the vast majority of them were kind of just the same thing over and over again. Um, if you, yeah, I don't know. It's I guess it's kind of a little bit of a game to play with like friends. Um, if you're looking for like a short horror game for an evening, I suppose. But yeah, not the best, I have to say, unfortunately. There are some cool things going on there, and I mean, I suppose it's to its credit that it's not as very long because even its short running time was, I felt personally that it was kind of overstaying its welcome a little bit because there really wasn't a lot of depth to the gameplay. It really was just walking in a straight line. So yeah, if that's the kind of game you're looking for, go ahead and try it out. It's really inexpensive on Steam, so
It's very cheap. Yeah,
yeah,
it's very very cheap. So.
it's not really much of an investment, both in terms of time or money. So it's something to think about, especially since October is coming up if you're looking to get into that Halloween
Mm.
spirit. But awesome. Moving on to our sort of continuing mini segment, which is our thoughts on the War Within so far, just because it's World of Warcraft is a big game for both of us. We've been playing it for a long time, and a new expansion is always a big moment, so we wanted to take some time each week to just reflect on our journey so far, how we're feeling about it, the kind of things that we've been up to. And I think this week is definitely a highlight for Kira as she has unlocked the new race, which I have not done yet. So, Kira, you mentioned
Eh,
briefly about the Earth, and what are your kind of, um, I guess, impressions, your first impressions on the new race? Do you like the story? What do you think of the intro quests? That kind of stuff. And also, how are
Well,
they to unlock? Because this is like the first
yeah,
expansion, I think, where the race that's included with it is an allied race, not just like like in Burning Crusade, where you just get the Blood Elves and the Draenei and
yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's much more like the like Void Elves and Light Forged, where you got to go through all of this stuff. But to the credit, you don't have a rep grind for Earthen. Unlocking the Earthen, you beat the main campaign, which isn't, that's not like a huge time sink. You do the main campaign, you play the game, and you get the campaign finished, and then you have essentially three side quest chains that you have to do. It's not three side quests; they're chains that you have to do, but they're really not that long. I did them all in one evening. It really wasn't that long. They're interesting. They're not the most riveting, but they are interesting. They do give you a feel more for what these people stand for, what they value. Because the Earthen are a little strange, because you would think, oh well, they're just a dwarf, right? Nah, they're like they. I don't think I'm spoiling anything. If you've played a War Within, you've met the Earthen. They speak in a very certain manner. They act a certain way. They're kind of they remind me, what was that gigantic lady that's down there in the heart of Azeroth? They almost speak
Mother,
like,
I think.
yeah, mother. They kind of speak like her a little bit. Like they're a little more artificial intelligency than, you know, alive, like flesh and blood people, if that makes sense. So they do have a very technical way of approaching things, and they analyze instead of think about things. They really they have a very unique personality compared to any other race that we have right now, and they really get that across with these unlocking quests, and like how as they get older, what problems do they face? Because you would think, well, they're just machines, right? No, 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 they're that's not, when you do these, it explains, all of these extra sides of the earthen that you'll have to see, that they would have to deal with. And I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, there's nothing like super major in these. Like they're not like real involved quests. Like you don't have to run any dungeons for them. You don't have to do anything like that. It's pretty. They're pretty good quests. I liked them. It is a longer thing, and some of the quests can be a little tedious with the back and forth. But it's Warcraft. A lot of quests are like that. You're used to it. The intro quest for them, once you actually unlock them, once you do those three quest chains and go down there, the intro quest for them is pretty short. You don't have a long drawn out. Like I remember once I was expecting that. Once you unlocked the Void Elves and the Dark Iron and the Draenei, the Light Forge, you unlock them, but then you have to do the quest to actually get them.
Yeah.
Right? So used to, you would do like the big rep grind and say, "Yay, they're unlocked." But then you'd have to go to that
Yeah.
allied embassy, and you'd take the quest, and they'd lead you to their area, and you'd follow and do all this stuff, which is, you know, okay. They didn't have that with this. You unlock them and they're unlocked. You can log out and go make it, and you're done. It's like, oh, there it is. And then the intro quest, like once you actually log in on the character, is very short. You just go to a couple main little areas right there. It guides you right through, and you're done, and you get to go out into the main world and start, well, exploring, leveling for me. But I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that I unlocked them. I was not excited about the Earthen. Like I mentioned, I'm not a fan of the dwarf races in Warcraft.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised, and this is probably the highest I've leveled that style of character before. So we'll see how long I stick with it, but I'm enjoying it for right now.
That's great. Yeah, that's great to hear. I mean, I'm also not super into dwarves. I don't think I've ever really played one. The most I played is, I think, maybe in Shadowlands. I played. Well, I just started leveling a Dark Iron Dwarf Shaman, but that didn't last very long. I don't even think I made it to like level 30. And just, yeah, not a huge dwarf fan.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I think the Earthen are pretty interesting. I think they're kind of the race from what you've explained as well, and from what I've seen. They're very they're not what they seem, is I think a good way of describing them. They're not just, dwarfs. They're quite a bit different, and they do have that kind of mechanical type of theme to them,
Mm-hmm.
but also
Very
a little bit
technical
of
way.
a. Sorry, what was that?
They have a very technical way of
Yeah,
looking at things. Yeah.
but at the same time, it's not quite like mechanomes, like you may be thinking was like
Mm-mm.
mechanomes, and not really like mechanomes. And they also have this kind of like gladiatorial edge to them, where it's kind of a lot of their gear looks like you're a centurion or something like that
Mm-hmm.
from the arenas, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think it has a unique flavor to it that I think will really appeal to some players. But yeah, that's great. And with that, I think we'll move on to our main segment of this show, and that is so. Last episode, many of you may have realized that we had kind of talked a little bit about point and click adventure games, and so we were talking during the week, and we were like, why don't we just do an episode where we talk about point and click adventure games and what we think about them, what our favorite ones are, some of the memories we've had playing them in the past. And Kira is a huge fan of point and click adventure games, as I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
many of you may know or may not know. She has mentioned it. So yeah, what the heck? We'll go ahead and talk about those this episode. So I think what we'll start with is just kind of our favorite point and click games. So personally, as I mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of the genre, but I do like it. I have gotten into it, into those games a lot more, sort of in the past 3-ish years, I would say. And my favorite one has to be, and this is a very love-hate relationship, but it is Gabriel Knight 2. If I had to pick one, it would be Gabriel Knight 2. That game just has an awesome story. I really like the cheesy FMV style of it. Um, it's got that kind of urban fantasy that I really enjoy, where you have set in the modern day, this idea of shadow hunters, and the game is about werewolves. So if you're into that kind of stuff, the supernatural, definitely check this game out. It's got a really good storyline, really good characters as well. For the most part, I mean, some of them are pretty corny and not that great, but it's kind of a thing of its time. The environments are really nice, actually. It's set in it's a place called. It's in Germany, but I believe it's like Rittersberg. Is that what it's called? Yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
which I think is a real place. I'm not sure. I did Google it, like when I after I played the game, and the stuff that was in the game is actually a real place in Germany, and it looks really
Mm-hmm.
nice. It's very idyllic looking, I guess, like fantasy. It has a bit of a gothic look to it, which I'm a big fan of. Um, but yeah, it's got that kind of cozy village vibe to it, and then you kind of go around solving the mystery of the werewolves, because it's basically like a murder mystery. I think most of the Gabriel Knight games tend to be something like that. I say most of them. There's only 3 of them, but at least the first game was very much about like the voodoo murders. This one is about like werewolf murders. You go around looking for clues, and some of the puzzles and the way you solve them are pretty interesting. And yeah, so kind of from there, I think we'll kind of talk about what we like about point and click games and stuff that maybe we don't like about them, because Gabriel Knight 2 has both of those two things. But yeah, Kira, what about you? What would you say are your favorite point and click games?
For me, my favorite point and click games would be King's Quest 6 and probably Simon the Sorcerer. And those two feel very different to me. Like King's Quest 6 feels very different than Simon the Sorcerer to me. But those two are right up at the top of my list for like very different reasons. King's Quest 6 was one that, and I may be jumping ahead of myself here, but King's Quest 6 was one that I remember playing with my sister a lot. I remember growing up and like she's older than I am by quite a bit. And I remember I'd come home from school and like she had, gotten home from college and I was in grade school and I was a little kid. This would have been somewhere around like first grade, kindergarten area. And whenever would come home, she'd be like, "Oh, I came home and I did this. Look, we got to go back and do this." And she'd reload the save to like show me a scene that she figured out or something. Or we'd sit there together and we'd try and work through puzzles and stuff with King's Quest 6. Like I remember dying to the genie and stuff a lot with her. And it was just it was time that I got to share with my sister, which I thought was really neat. And we would figure out puzzles and I'd be like, "Well, what if you did this?" And she's like, "Why would you do that? That's so weird. That would never." Oh, that worked. And I'm like, yeah. So it was that kind of game that it was just really it felt more epic, like a bigger journey, like it was a longer game and the puzzles were harder and you could die and it was really really cool and I always wanted to try and save Casima at the end and have the big happy true ending and sometimes I did it as a kid and sometimes I didn't because I couldn't. But I always really enjoyed that one. And then Simon the Sorcerer was another one that I did play with my sister, but not quite as much. It was the first one where I kind of branched out and was playing it more by myself. And it was a snarky little teenager. The sense of humor was there. I
Yeah.
remember laughing so much at that game as a kid because I was a kid and he's a kid, and it was funny. But it had an edgy humor that kind of was not in King's Quest 6. King's Quest 6 had some funny stuff in it, but is completely different sense of humor. And I don't think you can really die in Simon the Sorcerer either. At least I don't ever remember dying in it, but I'm old, my memory. But yeah, it was just I really really enjoyed those because I always felt like I was accomplishing something. I know it's a video game, but like I felt like yay, I did something. I solved a puzzle, and yeah, I've always had a special place for point and click adventures ever since then. Like I see point and click adventure and I get really excited, and it's because of those two games. It was more recently that I played the Gabriel Knight series, but I was excited because of those two games.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think you bring up a good point. That is one of the best things about point and click games, especially some of the older ones, is that feeling of accomplishment when you figure out a puzzle that you've been stuck on. Because some of those games have extremely difficult puzzles, like with really
Hmm.
obscure solutions, like that you pretty much they end up being a well, I'll just try every conceivable thing until something works kind of thing, where you're just either you're pixel hunting or you're just combining items until something happens, and then you're like, oh, I made this thing. Now I can figure out this. It is pretty rewarding when you figure that stuff out.
It's also kind of frustrating too, because back then you didn't have the internet where you could
Definitely,
just,
yeah.
I'm stuck. What do I do? So now I can, if I get really stuck, I can be like, hey, Google. And back then, as a kid, I definitely couldn't do that. So,
They can be pretty punishing too, as well. I was gonna say, is King's Quest 6 the one where there's that like wizard guy that you're staying with?
the wizard guy, I think you're thinking of King's Quest 3, maybe?
Because that one had a lot of like time sensitive puzzles that you had to do, and if you
That's,
didn't do them
yeah.
properly, you're just dead.
Yeah. King's Quest 3 was really, really punishing because you had to wait for him to leave and you didn't
Yeah.
know exactly when he was coming back. Because it seemed a little random. At least that's how it felt at the time. I'm sure people have figured out how long he'll be gone by now. I haven't played that one super, super recently,
Yeah.
but it was also one that, like, if you picked up an item, because usually when you pick up the stuff, you'd go back home and you'd shove it all under the bed
Yeah.
so that you wouldn't be caught with the stuff. Because if you're caught with this stuff, you'd always be like, oh, you have a pair of shoes. You're gonna cast magic, aren't you? And then he'd kill you. And it's like, ah, shit, because you wouldn't think it'd be something that he gets super pissed off about. It'd be something really like, why would you think I'm casting spells with, a toothbrush? What are you talking about? But there'd be stuff that most of the time you could shove the stuff under the bed to get it out of your inventory so he wouldn't catch you. But there'd be certain items that his real name's Alexander. Same guy from Six. It's the same character. But there'd be times where he wouldn't put an item under the bed once you picked it up because it'd be too fragile or too whatever. Like he felt like he would lose it under the bed if he put it down there. So he'd keep it in his inventory. And then the wizard would come back and he'd kill you as soon as he caught you with it. So it was a punishing one because you'd
Very
have to get all
brutal.
of your stuff together and then know which ones you need to get very last minute and make a rush to go get it and bring it back and then do your spell before he catches you. So yeah,
Then it got
that's
crazier.
probably
Oh, sorry, carry on.
yeah. I was just that's probably the hardest one I have played is King's Quest 3 for
Yeah, and then you
me.
have to like it ends up getting more complicated when you have to like go into town and do stuff there and then quickly come back
Mm-hmm.
and go. Yeah, that
Yeah.
game. I think the moral of the story with a lot of these games is if you're gonna play them, make sure you save very, very often because it's very. These games are they're tough. Like if you get something wrong, especially that one, if you do something incorrectly, even if you've got the solution right, but you took too long in finding it, it's just game over and it's right back to
Mm-hmm.
the main menu kind of thing. So if you don't have a load,
Yeah. Save often, save on multiple saves. Like don't have just one or two saves.
oh
You
yeah,
keep multiple saves.
I think I
Um,
made that mistake in one of these games. I can't
mm,
remember which one it was, but yeah, I
I think
would
it's
just
Gabriel Knight. Yeah,
it was it Game One Night 2 or the first one?
the first one I think.
The first one, yeah, because you had to do something on a particular day, and I hadn't done it, and I'd only been keeping one save because I'm not used to these games, and then yeah, you can basically soft lock your game by doing that.
Yeah,
So make sure you keep
because when you,
multiple saves.
I think it was also the zombies in Gabriel Knight. I think you had
Yeah,
saved
yeah,
right before one of them touched you, and
yeah,
as
and
soon
I
as
did
you
that. Yeah,
load it, it would immediately, and you're like, oh, yeah, it was.
it was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
Um,
I was like, oh no.
but yeah, I mean, I think so talking about some of the stuff that we love about point and click games, Kira kind of nailed it. With something interesting that you don't think about is like these are especially since they're from kind of the I think would you say they're like 90s games?
A lot of them are, yeah. A lot of those are.
Yeah, it kind of they're good games to play with someone. I think it's the best way to have fun with these point and click games is you can share the experience with someone. As Kira shared it with her um, older sister, and coming up and two heads are better than one with these types of games if you can have someone else helping you solve some of these problems, some of these puzzles in these point and click games. They're really fun experiences. So I would say like if I had to pick one thing I really like about point and click games, the reason I play them is the story. They tend to have really good or at least interesting stories. Gabriel
Mhm.
Knight 2, like I said, with the urban fantasy, I'm a big fan of urban fantasy, but it's usually done terribly. With like in books, for example, it's just awful. A lot of it is just I call it like just you know without having offending too many people. I do think it's pretty much just trash. It's trashy reading a lot of the urban fantasy, but Gabriel Knight 2 is actually and the first one is very well done urban fantasy. I think Gabriel Knight, the first one, Kira, you've played this as well. It had like, because it was set in New Orleans and it used a lot of like the history of New Orleans to fuel the plot, and I thought that was really interesting the way it worked. Where um, you had like, was it a lot of African culture that was
Mhm.
because in the uh, history of New Orleans, I think there was a lot of immigration to New Orleans by African people and a lot of that culture is in the game as well, and it's really cool to see that kind of stuff and to learn about the culture, and it makes the plot a lot more believable. And like, wow, this is actually based on the culture. So, and Gabriel Knight too does the same thing with like German history, um, especially since there's a part where you are reading about basically lore um, in Gabriel's library about the history of like the Ritter clan and werewolf sighting in the medieval ages and that kind of stuff and how they dealt with them and who the first werewolf was, type of thing. So yeah, I think the story for me is definitely the highlight of point and click games. You can really find some good stuff going on there. I mean, in recent memory, one that I played was I didn't play it too terribly much, but it was the Grim Fandango remastered game, and that game was just crazy. You were like some kind of salesman of the underworld, where you're trying to sell people like death packages, like how they want to be
Yeah.
transported to the underworld, and depending on how much good you've done in your life, you could get like an executive package where you get to go first class on this like really fancy, luxurious train, And if you've been scummy, you gotta walk there. They give you like a cane. Here's your walking
Yeah.
stick. That's the package that you've earned. And, you have to kind of charge them for it and all that kind of stuff. So it's really creative things like that that you can do with point and click games. But what about
It
you, Kira?
almost sounded like one of those vacation like agencies, the travel
Yeah,
agencies for
that's it.
your vacation,
Yeah,
but it was you're dead and there's like you're going to the underworld. It's like, what?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that
very
was
interesting. Yeah.
like a vacation type of thing, a
Yeah.
holiday to the underworld, but you're not gonna come back because you're dead.
Yeah. You're dead.
But yeah, what about you, Kira? What kind of things do you like most about point and click games? What kind of gets you into the genre, and what do you love? What sticks you around? Keeps you sticking around?
I think you're I think you're right. The story is always a big driving factor because in a lot of ways they're very similar to like a JRPG where
Yeah.
you come for the story and you kind of stay for the gameplay. And it's like it's got to have an interesting story. If it doesn't have an interesting story, it's got to have something else unique about it that makes you want to, like a sense of humor or something. Like the puzzles are really good, or that kind of thing. Like if the story's not what's holding you there, it's got to have something really good about it. Um, so I always like the story, like King's Quest 6, 5, all the King's Quest games, the story. I'm just gonna call that one there. King's Quest up to 7. Don't like 8, but it's not a point and click. They changed it. So all the King's Quest, they all have a really good story. Simon the Sorcerer has a very good story. It's not on that big epic scale of King's Quest like that, but it's got a very good story in the sense of humor, and the voice acting in that is just perfect. Like they had the perfect guy do the voice acting for Simon. And
Sarcastic British
like
dude.
all yeah, I was like it's perfect, man. And the voice acting in Gabriel Knights, with Tim Curry,
Curry.
he did it.
Yeah,
He
he's
he did
great.
a great job. Like he did a fantastic job in the first one. The
And Mark
second one was
Hamill,
still a point.
like
Mark
crazy voice
Hamill in the
acting too.
first one,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they had really good voice acting. King's Quest 6 had very good voice acting for the characters. The narrator was very dry and he could be kind of, rude whenever you would propose a solution that didn't
Yeah,
work.
snarky.
I normally mouth off back at him, but because he gets kind of, and I'm like, well, it's you too. But uh, I like the voice acting in a lot of them, and a lot of them really will. They will poke fun at you for coming up with weird solutions that it's like, well, why would I try that? That's crazy, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And it's because they know you're gonna get to that point where you just start trying everything because it's like, well, what do I do? I'm stuck, and they will kind of poke fun at you. Why would I do that? I mean, Dark Side Detective does it. A lot of the modern point and click games really are modeled after these old games from the 90s. They try and make them have that feel, and it's because they were doing something right. Some are more friendly than others. Like Sierra games kind of are known for having that difficulty to them. You're gonna hit that wall where you're like, what the heck do I do now? But they're also that much more rewarding for once you figured it out. It's like, okay, cool. But then the others, they have they're awesome. Like I would never put down Simon the Sorcerer for not being able to die in it. Like
Mm.
it's an awesome game. It's just fun. I tend to like those. And they have some really dark point and click ones as well,
Yeah.
which I don't know that I'd call it like really dark, but like the Return of the Phantom was one that I was a little surprised by because it does kind of start out with like these spooky vibes and it's got the story and the voice acting and it's a little darker than some of the others. It just has that feel to it that and there's others like it. Basically, any type of point and click, it works. If you want a lighthearted one, if you want a more serious one, if you want the FMVs like Gabriel Knight 2, it works.
Yeah.
I would personally count Contradiction
I would.
as very
Yeah.
much like a point and click, and it works. They're awesome, and you're just kind of along for the ride, and you feel like yes, I got it when stuff works.
You mentioned Return of the Phantom. Did you do a Let's Play on that series? On that Let's
Hmm.
Play series?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
watching that.
it
That
was.
that game looked really cool.
Yeah. That's I had mentioned I do the October. October I try to do a video a day for the whole month of October, which I don't upload a Let's Play video every day because my schedule doesn't allow that. But for October I try and do a Let's Play upload every single day. And Gabriel Knight and Return of the Phantom, Dark Side Detective, all these point and clicks were all part of one of those because they just have that awesome feeling of we're going on an adventure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Return of the Phantom was it's not one most people know about or even think about because it didn't it's not one of those like great epic Sierra ones or something,
Yeah, it's a
but
bit more
it's
obscure.
another yeah, it's pretty good though. It's especially if you like that kind of if you know anything about Phantom of the Opera, you'll probably like it. If you like any kind of time travel-y stuff, you'll probably like it.
Yeah, it's just a good game. Yeah, in the same vein of like these kind of more creepy point and click games, one that I'd like to go back to, I think Kira would like to as well, is the game. I think it's called Sanatorium. Sanitarium,
Mm,
Sanatorium.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we sanitarium.
it's Sanitarium. We played a little bit of it a couple of years ago, I think. Really
Mhm.
good from what I remember. Really good, but very creepy. It's like set in this kind of um, basically asylum for mentally ill people, I guess. And just some weird stuff happens in that game right at the beginning. It's crazy. It has a very unsettling atmosphere to it, and I think that's one of the things point and click games can do really well because they are all about the story and kind of the visuals. Not necessarily in terms of graphics, but in terms of like the way they show each scene, how everything is constructed, the camera and everything like that. It really feels like you're in this kind of grungy looking asylum where like
Yeah.
and I think you can hear like the cries of the other inpatients and yeah, it's very clear like some messed up stuff has been happening in this place and you have to kind of try and get out after I think an alarm has gone off and you get to escape. So definitely would like to get back into that one. Probably an October game for sure.
Yeah.
Uh yeah.
I want to get back to that one. And there's one that not it's another one that a lot of people don't know about. I haven't even played it myself, but there was what was it? Blizzard started to do a point and click on World of Warcraft. On Warcraft, it wasn't World of Warcraft. It was Warcraft where you play as Thrall.
Oh, that
Um,
game. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but they didn't actually finish it. I don't
Yeah.
think they finished it. I
I
don't
don't
think they
think so.
released it. But I kind of want to play it because I know that there's versions of it out there and it does run and you can like get quite a ways through it. But it's a point and click and you're playing as Thrall. And like, I don't really want to play as Thrall, but you know, if that's who I have for a Warcraft point and click, I'll do it. Let's go. So I think it would be neat to play that one, even though it's not done. A point and click related to Warcraft would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
They should definitely do a new version of that. Hint, hint.
Yeah, to
So
finish
yeah,
it and like remaster or something and then release
yeah,
that. For anyone
yeah.
wondering, I did just look it up because I was curious because I've forgotten what it was called. It is called Warcraft Adventures: Lord of the Clans. I believe that's the one
Yes,
that you're talking
yeah.
about. Yeah, where you play as
Yep,
Thrall.
that is it. Yep.
Very cool game. I mean, from what I saw, the game looked, if not finished, very close to. I mean, it had like voice acted cutscenes. It
Yeah,
had like a whole story to it. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know why it didn't come out like officially or why it wasn't finished, but
That would be so cool, man. That
yeah,
one and there's an X-Files
yes,
1998 something game.
definitely
It's
want to
more
play
of an
that one.
FMV. And I definitely want to play that one. It's a harder one because like I have mentioned I think before that it's like on Windows 98 or something, so
Yep.
you have to fuss with it before it will run.
Yeah.
But that's another one. Those are the ones that I haven't played, but man, I want to. I have played a tiny bit of the X-Files one when I was a kid, but it scared me, so I stopped playing it. But um I was like 8 or something, so you know.
Yeah.
That's not true. I was a little bit older than 8, but
18.
like I just no, I wasn't 18.
I was kidding. But yeah.
But yeah, it's one that I would like to those two.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know also, anyone listening, let us know if there's some that you have been wanting to play like that. And it's like, I always wanted to play that, but I never got to because I'm always interested to find more point and click games because,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely do. The X Files is one I definitely want to play. I'm a huge fan of the X Files. Great show. Cool. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of Friday Fables. So thank you all for watching and listening. And as always, I was one of your hosts, Jags, and joining me has been Kira.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Take care, everyone.
Bye.